I came to the United States about 20 years ago. It's always been a dream of mine to live in the United States. My mom will tell you, ever since I was 5 years old, I told her that I want to live in the United States, the land of the free, you know?
Right.
So I think there's a lot of opportunity here, you know, and if you apply yourself, you can be whatever you want.
Right.
You know? And I've definitely taken on that role, you know, like I've always worked hard for everything that I have, and, you know, and so I'm not stopping yet.
Right. And when you moved to the U.S., where did you move here to Florida?
So I actually moved to Santa Cruz, California first because I have family there.
Okay.
And then, you know, I stayed for a little bit, but then ended up in Hawaii and,
Wow.
You know, kind of chasing the sun. So I lived in Hawaii for 7 years. It was beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. I mean, they do call it paradise, you know, not for nothing. So, but, you know, after a while, I think too many people came over there and it was very crowded. And I was like, if I'm going to be away from my family, you know, for, you know, so far away, I might as well live on the mainland, you know.
Right.
So I ended up moving back to Santa Cruz, and it was still too cold in Santa Cruz, believe it or not, because when you're used to, like here, 76 degree, you know, on average 80, then if it drops down in the 70s, you're cold, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And Santa Cruz drops down to the 50s, you know, sometimes even 40s. So I was like, I can't do this.
Right.
So Southwest Florida was the next best stop. You
Right.
know?
How did you, like, why Southwest Florida? Did you have people here that you knew, or just, you know, good spot, good area to come? And
so of course, you know, most most people end up in certain places because of a partner. So
right.
I ended up moving to Southwest Florida because of a boy. And, you know, he got offered a really good job at the Hyatt. And we did a lot of research for, you know, a few months on pet policies for rentals. It was way more lenient than in California. Like, we were trying to get rentals, and it was so difficult to find rentals that would take a cat and a dog, you know. So here it was a little bit easier to do. We loved the beaches here, you know, everything seemed like so much nicer and easier, you know, in certain aspects. Not that Northern California isn't nice. I mean, my God, I love Big Sur area, but, you know, the weather, like, you can't beat it. It's always very pretty here, you know, and so there's a lot of things to do here too, you know, throughout the entire year. So.
Right. And you're in the real estate industry. So what inspired you to pursue a career in that industry, and how did you start?
So I actually, when I was a little kid, my dream job was to be an interior designer. My aunt is an interior designer, and I wanted to step into her footsteps. I love everything about architecture, interior, and, you know, exterior of the home. So in fact, when I my very first interview or video that I did 7 years ago when I started in real estate, I'm saying the same thing that I just told you. I love everything about the interior and exterior, you know, of the home. But no, I mean, I think, you know, realistically, I was already too old. Yeah, I was like 25, 26 years old. So when I came here, it wouldn't have made sense for me to then go to college and, you know, take 5-6 years, you know, at that point to get my interior design degree. So I got my real estate license in Hawaii already. I did real estate there for a short period of time, and then the market crashed. So I ended up going into timeshare sales, which helped me a lot, you know, power boost my business in real estate. But I ended up, you know, really just enjoying staging houses, you know, and bringing some of the creativity that I already have, you know, in me, and, you know, parlaying that onto my listings and, you know, my work ethics and the way I do things in my business.
Right. Okay. And what would you say have been some of the most significant challenges you faced in your career, and how have you overcome them?
So, I mean, I think that, you know, people are getting the real estate business completely wrong because of, you know, the TV shows and, you know, all of the things that are portraying that real estate is a very easy business.
Right.
So a lot of people are getting their real estate license. I mean, my joke to all my clients is, you know, when you come down to Florida, you go to the motor vehicle bureau and pick up your real estate license, you know, just
Right.
like you pick up your driver's license, because everybody has one. But I mean, all joking aside, it's very tough in any market to become a new agent. I do think that it was even tougher when I got in the business, just because I didn't know anybody. You know, a lot of people that that get their real estate license here, they either have been to Florida before or have friends or family members that live in the area. So it's easier to get kind of that referral base going. But
Right.
I knew nobody. You know, I was a foreigner coming to the United States, and I lived in, you know, I decided to move to Florida. So it was really about building my business. And how did I do that? I mean, I was digging the trenches. I was
Right.
on the front line, you know, out there trying to help every single person that I could, whether it was a renter, you know, or somebody that wanted to buy or sell. So for the first, I would say 6 months, all I did was rentals, you
Right.
know, and that's how I got to know the communities. I got to know a lot of people. It was great networking, you know, but I mean, I would say for the first 5 out of the 7 years, I worked 365 days out of the year from 6 in the morning till about 10, sometimes 1 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
You know, where people are like, how is she doing that? You know, and I don't know how I did, but I did, because
Yeah.
I wanted this so bad, and I wanted to be successful and have, you know, a thriving business.
Right. And by the way, just like a side note, I did notice, you know, when Cheyenne and I went to your place with Kyle, that it was like a Friday night, right, or something, and it was like 7 or 8 at night, and you were taking calls or on a text with a client.
Yeah.
So I think that's almost like the silver lining, right, between people who are good at what they do and extremely successful and have a team under them, and kind of are leading the market in any industry, right? Is being
Absolutely.
available like all the time, almost.
Yeah, it's huge. Communication is huge. You know, I mean, the way our industry is going is people don't want to talk on the phone anymore. It's all about texting. You know, you just have to communicate with people. That's the most important part, and a lot of people lack that. You know,
Right.
and that, you know, their lack is my success.
Right, right. And it brings me into my next question, because I noticed that you're always like turned on, right, when it comes to being there for clients and questions that they may have and so on. So with that said, like, how do you balance the demands of running a business with your personal life and other commitments?
It's very difficult to do, and you know, when you become a workaholic like myself, it's hard to differentiate personal life with business. I mean, goes from social media, any type of events that you do, everybody talks about real estate wherever you go. So you can't really ever turn it off. So I found, you know, a few different ways. Obviously, I have my Faith Acres farm, which is my dream property.
Yeah.
You know, so you know, spending time with my horse, you know, even if it's, you know, a few minutes at night, you know, but being able to do that, or my garden. I mean, my garden is my sanctuary. You know, I will take a couple hours here and there, you know, if I can, rather than taking off a full day. I take a few hours here and there, and I'm out in the yard, and there's nobody that can get a hold of me at that point, you know.
Right.
And that's just what I need to do to keep my sanity. You know?
Right. Okay, awesome. And what do you believe are the most important qualities or characteristics that contribute to success in both business and life? And how can individuals develop these traits?
So, I mean, for me, obviously, what has always worked is, you know, just follow like a process. You know, I mean, if you do the same process, and that process obviously needs to work. Like if you do something over and over again and it doesn't work, then obviously you need to change that. But I have found, you know, a good process for me that, now that I follow that, the success is just coming with that, I do pride myself in going above and beyond for my clients. I do things a little bit different than a lot of agents out there, and you can see that from my reviews and obviously the amount of business that I have, especially right now. There's a lot of people or a lot of agents out there that, are not doing a lot of business. So they're all looking at me like, what is she doing? I'm not really doing anything different than I did, a few years ago. I keep doing the same thing, I think going back to the old school ways is the best way sometimes.
Right.
Communicating with people, again, we're back to, bringing that up. But I think those are some of the ways. And if you start in real estate, I think the best thing for somebody to do is join a team and work with successful people. Surround yourself with successful people,
Right. And what advice would you give to someone who is just starting out in their career or business venture? And what are some common mistakes or pitfalls to avoid?
So I think, I guess a tip would be to, definitely learn, your trade. Like, you need to be a specialist in what you're doing, so you can, help your clients the right way,
Right.
and if they're happy or when they're happy with your business or the way that you've treated them, then they're going to come back to you, tenfold. I mean, they're going to give you referrals, their friends are going to give you referrals, and it's so on and so on,
Right.
I think what the biggest downfall is that people get into real estate and they watch these shows, or they don't have as much money set aside because it is expensive to, be a real estate agent, because for the first probably 6 months, you're not going to make any money or hardly any.
Right.
So you need to have a good cushion set aside. So, you just need to plan ahead, know your fees that you need to pay right up front, because there's a lot of local fees that you have to pay.
Yeah.
And then, you can increase your budget over time. I mean, I didn't have the marketing budget that I have now when I first started out. So I looked for free ways, to advertise as much as I could. I would go door knock, on people's doors, and it was a lot of work, but it paid off.
Right. How important do you think marketing is in real estate?
Marketing is everything.
Right.
That's all. You have to market yourself 24/7, and that's from social media to email campaigns, video, pictures. Your social media platform needs to be dialed in.
Right.
If you're not good at that, and I know that there's services out there. I think you guys provide that service, right? So definitely hit you guys up for that. I think it's a great thing that you guys are doing, because that's what it's the consistency. You have to be consistent with the things that you do. So if you blow, $200 or $300 on a mail out, and you do that one time, and then people never hear from you again for 6 months, because then you do another mail out, you might as well don't even do the first mail out.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
It doesn't make sense, you know? So I think you guys are doing a great job with posting for people, over and over again, because people need to keep seeing people's faces.
Yeah, I agree. And so last question is, how do you measure success in your personal and professional life? And what motivates you to continue striving for your goals?
So, I mean, I'm not really understanding your question.
I gotcha. So let's start. It's like a two-part question, so a little tricky. So how would you measure success in your personal and professional life?
Okay. So
how do you measure
personal business?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think that my personal business has had a very healthy growth over the last 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
I have, I always say the cream always rises to the top, and once you're on the top, you're not. I will not accept defeat.
Right.
So whatever I have to do to stay on the top, that's what I'll do. And if I have to work harder, I will work harder.
Right.
You know? So that has definitely not slowed down. In fact, I think my business has changed.
Mm-hmm.
It has increased in sales volume. I guess the average home price is obviously higher because the prices are higher too. But I think I had a very healthy growth. I went from 250,000 average sales price in my first few years, and then like slowly increased that over time. And so now my average sales price is probably like between 800 and 900,000.
Right.
So which is a good place to be, because in any given market, whether it's like a market where a lot of multi-million-dollar people buy, I can serve that because I have experience with that. But if there's not a lot of people buying in that price category because they're holding onto their stocks or whatever their reasoning might be, the person that buys a $500, $600, $400, $200,000 place, they're constantly buying
right.
too, and then I can service that price category as well. So it really is the smart thing to do to not get into real estate and just focus on one price category,
Mm-hmm.
because you're not gonna be successful steadily.
Right.
If a few deals a year is your goal, then that might be the way that you want to go. But if you want to have steady business like myself, and I want to maintain that, that's been my goal, and I think I've done a pretty good job
Right.
doing that. And that's what I share with my team, training them. I do that once a week. I have team trainings to kind of give my agents the ways in the business. This is what you have to do to keep with the program, because the industry is constantly changing.
Right.
And you have to evolve. You have to constantly be innovative and use new things. Now we have video all the time, and going live, and professional pictures. But I did the 360 virtual tours 5 years ago.
Oh wow.
So when we had Corona, I actually ended up selling probably 25 to 35 homes sight unseen with my virtual tours.
Right.
Versus people that didn't know how to adapt to that, they lost.
Right.
So it was one of the busiest year that I've ever had.
Right.
And a lot of people were complaining.